Howdy, and welcome to Mo's World, the baseball podcast. Yep, another baseball podcast where we talk about baseball like a few friends sitting at the bar. Awesome. We welcome your input to help us improve and make us grow. In our third episode of Season 2, we will discuss a subject that is considered taboo: steroids. It's time to address this issue, especially with the recent Hall of Fame candidates back in the spotlight. All right, let's dive in. Steroids. It's often seen as a dirty secret in sports, right? However, it's been 30 years since the fallout from this issue. We now have fans who were born long after this era and who may not know much about it. In this episode, we will revisit and re-examine this significant time in baseball history. So, when was this era? I'd say it spans from 1991 to 2003. Why those specific dates? Well, I guess we could consider 1985 to 1993 as the pre-steroids era, and 1994 to 2004 as the true steroids era. Now, steroids were banned in Major League Baseball in 1991, but testing for their use did not begin until 2004. During this time, Major League Baseball turned a blind eye to the situation as attendance and interest in the game soared due to the surge in offensive performance. After all, fans love home runs, right? So essentially, a player could have been using steroids from 1985 until 2004 without facing any consequences from the league. Now, this raises a significant dilemma. Who took steroids and who didn't during this time frame? In 1991, it became a moral issue regarding who used steroids. Even though they were banned, there were no repercussions. Now, I've heard many debates on this topic from former players, media members, front office personnel, and the fans. Even my own opinion on this matter has evolved through the years. Now, let's start at the top. In the late 80s, it was rumored to be getting popular in baseball, especially in the clubhouses, that steroids were an item. So what the hell were steroids? Anabolic steroids help build muscle tissue and increase body mass by acting like the body's natural male hormone, testosterone. However, steroids cannot improve an athlete's agility or skill. Now, many factors determine athletic ability, including genetics, body size, age, sex, diet, and the intensity of the training. Now, this brings us to the issue of steroids. What stands out immediately? Now, the idea that you can become bigger and better. However, there is a reality that many people overlook. Last year, there were 949 players on opening day rosters in Major League Baseball, with a reported population of 340 to 355 million people in the United States as of 2024. The percentage of professional players to the general public is staggering. Why wouldn't an athlete do what is necessary to keep their job? Especially considering that the average Major League Baseball career is only 5.6 years. Shit, 5.6 years is the average. So, if I offered you a drug that could potentially enhance your strength, increase your home runs, and boost your RBIs, ultimately helping you earn more money in your career as a baseball player, would you take it? With only 949 players holding this opportunity in the entire country, the allure of making more money and extending your career is pretty friggin' strong. Seeing it laid out this way, you might start to reconsider your stance on the issue. Now, it's important to remember that steroids were banned in 1991. Up until that point, it was not illegal to take them, though it was considered immoral. You're cheating. Now, after 2004, however, you could lose your job if caught using them. So those are the facts. And testosterone, is the primary male sex hormone often used in synthetic forms. And, there were plenty of HGH, which is not a steroid. HGH is a hormone that some players use to enhance recovery and muscle growth. Now, have you ever heard of the Bash Brothers? The Oakland A's in the late 80s featured Jose Canseco and Mark McGwire, who were famously known as the Bash Brothers. They also gained notoriety as the godfathers of steroids in baseball. The situation escalated when Jose Canseco released his book, Juiced, which revealed the rampant use of steroids in Major League Baseball clubhouses. As a result of this fallout, Major League Baseball suspended over 28 players for steroid use after 2005. Now, leading to significant consequences for the league. Some notable names out of that were caught by Major League Baseball over the years was Rafael Palmeiro in 2005, Manny Ramirez in 2009 and 2011, Melky Cabrera in 2012, Ryan Braun in 2013, Nelson Cruz in 2013, Alex Rodriguez in 2013, Miguel Tejada in 2013, Starling Marte 2017, Jorge Polanco 2018, Robinson Cano 2018 and 2020, and Emmanuel Closet 2020, Ramon Laureano 2021, and Fernando Tatis Jr. in 2022. All of these players were tested and found guilty of using steroids. In December 2007, Major League Baseball released the Mitchell Report, which was a 409-page document detailing the history of illegal performance-enhancing substances and the players who utilized them. Now, this report was led by Senator George Mitchell and followed a 20-month investigation. It covered the early years of steroid use up to the time of the report's release. A total of 89 players were alleged to have used steroids or other performance-enhancing drugs as a result. Now, while I won't list every name, you may recognize some of the most prominent among them: Barry Bonds, Jason Giambi, Benito Santiago, Gary Sheffield, Kevin Brown, Roger Clemens, Lenny Dykstra, Miguel Tejada, and Mo Vaughn. Now, these were some of the top players at the time, and a lot of you are aware of the consequences in Hall of Fame voting. Now, the fallout from Major League Baseball regarding steroid use has been significant over the years. Various players have confirmed or denied their involvement with these substances. Now, my primary concern lies with the period after 2003. That's when steroid use was officially banned. Now, this is the time frame that really raises questions. It took Major League Baseball a long time to address this issue, which allowed it to linger for years without proper action. So, how should we approach voting for players associated with steroid use? Now remember, this is players associated with steroid use. That seems to be the big question. When Jason Giambi was confronted about his steroid use, he admitted to it. He explained his reasoning and offered an apology. This response is what many baseball fans wanted to hear. Well, we didn't give a shit about vilifying the players. We just wanted honesty from them so that we could possibly move on. Now, in contrast, players like Rafael Palmeiro refused to acknowledge their steroid use, even when presented with compelling evidence against them. And as a result, such players have been largely ignored in the Hall of Fame voting. It's like they're fucking with the fans. Oh no, I never used steroids, Palmeiro says. Meanwhile, there's tons of evidence against him. Same thing, Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. They were among the best athletes of their era and likely would have been Hall of Famers without the steroid controversy. Unfortunately, they tarnished both the game and their own legacies, which has led to their omission from the Hall of Fame. Now, the baseball writers who vote for the Hall of Fame, they all have differing opinions on this matter. Some exclude any player suspected of using performance-enhancing drugs, commonly known as PEDs, while others are indifferent about it. Personally, I feel that if a player cannot admit to their use, I chose to ignore their claims of fame. And I still feel that way. But however, it's freaking hard to overlook the career of, let's just go with Manny Ramirez, who produced impressive RBI numbers from 1995 to 2008. And I'm talking, that's 14 years of Hall of Fame worthy performance. That's difficult to dismiss. So what do you think? Should we reevaluate the careers of players associated with steroid use, or just continue to ignore them? Now, I believe that the Hall of Fame has just got to wake up and categorize this era of baseball as follows. From 1985 to 1993, it should be referred to as the Pre-Steroid Era. And from 1994 to 2004, it should be labeled as the Steroid Era. Additionally, the Hall could create a section that presents this period of baseball with a giant question mark, explaining the use of steroids and featuring their point-counterpoint debates. This section could acknowledge that the players competed in a time that is truly ambiguous regarding whether they committed moral or legal infractions while playing the game. Now, as I mentioned earlier, it's easy for us to all sit here and play judge based on whether they took steroids. However, the reality is much more complex. Consider what you would do if you were Melky Cabrera in 2011, faced with the temptation to enhance your career. Now, ironically, his statistics did not seem to suffer after his suspension. And he's had some of his best years after that. His salary also increased dramatically, going from $1.25 million in 2011 to $15 million in 2017. So steroids appeared to have no impact on his career in terms of performance, other than tarnishing his reputation. Now, you ready for the big one? Barry Bonds led the league in 96 offensive categories and 46 defensive categories throughout his 22-year career. Holy crap. He was a dominant force in baseball and can be compared to all the greats who played the game. He ended up his career being the all-time leader in home runs with 762, with WAR at 162.8, base on balls at 2558, and intentional base on balls at a career staggering number of 688. Now, does he consider Hall of Fame votes? The writers certainly made their preferences known. In his 10 years on the ballot, he was not voted in. However, his attitude towards his accomplishments and records may change over time. Now, if that happens, he could still gain entry to the Hall of Fame via the ERA committee. We've talked about that in the past. Now, an episode on the Hall of Fame at the end of season 1 touched on this. And that's all I ask for regarding Pete Rose. At least give him the opportunity to be voted in. I'll harp on this as much as I can, personally. And the attitudes of Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, they make me want to overlook their existence in Major League Baseball records. And that's disappointing. I feel the same way about Alex Rodriguez. With A-Rod, he recognizes the fact that, he tarnished baseball and his own name by getting caught taking steroids, not once, but twice. So that's another unfortunate situation. So we are still dealing with the fallout from this era in baseball. I may struggle to accept Barry Bonds as the all-time leader in home runs, but I understand the dilemma he faced. It's unfortunate that he doesn't seem to grasp the impact of his actions. My feelings are conflicted. Part of me says, fuck him. Well, the other part acknowledges his incredible achievements. 96 offensive categories leading the league. Holy shit, that's amazing. Oh, and if you're not familiar with some of the names I mentioned on the podcast, once again, visit baseballreference.com and do your own homework checking on your own. So I think that's a wrap on today's show. I hope you enjoyed our third episode of Season 2, Mo's World, the Baseball Podcast. Now, just a reminder, our off-season schedule for releasing new episodes is twice a month until spring training, which is right around the corner. Pitches and Catches report February 13th, so this means our next episode will air on February 14th, 2025. Now, each episode is about 20 minutes long. I thank you for listening, and please spread the word to your friends. In the meantime, ask yourself, whose world is it? It's Mo's World.